Hi there, Karen Flaherty from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to be talking about the gate 3, which is typically called ordering or trouble at the beginning. Okay, so we've got a lot going on this week. It starts, the Sun in Gate 3 starts on April 16th. It goes until April 22nd. And then we've got the Earth in Gate 50, which is all about values. The Sun in Gate 3 is typically called ordering or trouble at the beginning. And so the 3 is down here off the top or the bottom of the sacral. And then we've got the 50 over here coming off the side of the spleen. So we've got the 50 connecting up to the 27, which is already in the North Node. And then we got the 3 connecting to the 60, which is already in Pluto and has been for a long time. And so we have the spleen defined, the sacral defined, the root defined as it has been for the past week, and also still the solar plexus defined as it has been. And it will be until, I think I said the 27th, that we'll be having that emotional energy. Then a little later in the week, by Friday, we had the throat for a few days. And we had the gate 35 because Venus is moving into the gate 35. And then that creates this entire channel of transitoriness, which goes from the 35 to the 36. And the 36 has been in Neptune for a while. So we start the week with 4 centers defined, and then we move to 5 centers defined. So whether you've got any of these defined or not, you'll probably find out because you'll be feeling the others that get defined. And by the way, this this configuration, the one with the 4 centers defined, makes everybody a generator, whether they are or not, makes everybody emotional, whether they are or not. And then as we add in the throat, that makes everybody manifesting generators, basically. So we're all going to be running around a little wild in the end, toward the end of the week, because we'll have both energy and we'll have the throat voice energy. Where people will hear us a little more. So, for the generators and projectors and reflectors, it's going to feel pretty good. So enjoy that energy. And, that's 3 out of the 4 motors getting defined all at once. So that's a lot of energy. Oh, and on top of all that, we get a Mercury retrograde starting on the 21st. And we have an eclipse, a solar eclipse, going on the 19th and 20th. It's kind of funny because it's the moon coming over the sun pretty prominently. It'll be the 19th, 20th, depending on where you are in the world. So we'll see how that affects us. So it's the 19th, 20th is the eclipse, and then we go right into Mercury retrograde right after that. So it'll be interesting this week. Okay, so we've got the Sun in Gate 3, which is called difficulty at the beginning or ordering, and basically it's the fundamental challenge of initiation. It's transcending the confusion and establishing order from the start of anything, right? So you start a project, you start a new job, you start a new relationship. Anything that is getting started is bound to have a few little hiccups at the beginning. And that's all these are. They're hiccups, they're little bumps in the road, they're things to make us think about why we're doing something and do we really want to do this? And then we decide to recommit, to move forward, and to go on. And to figure out the solutions to all the chaos. So that's what the 3 is about. The incarnation crosses this week are the cross of laws, innovation, and wishes. And then the gate 50 is called the cauldron or values, and it's part of the tribal circuit. It's the value of historical continuity, whose traditional values serve and enrich the present and future. And we'll be talking about Queen Elizabeth II, and you can see that was pretty high in her priority list in terms of keeping the values of historical continuity, if you will, in the traditional values. That's the kind of energy this is. It's about taking care of people. It's about caring about people. It's about and it's like a really deep caring. It's a tribal caring. It's a got to take care of the family kind of caring. It's like the Godfather kind of energy, right? In terms of the family, and it's that kind of energy. In the Gene Keys, corruption is the shadow, equilibrium is the gift, and harmony is the CD. So when we start talking about the gene key 3, the shadow here is chaos, because that's that trouble at the beginning where we're wondering how things are going to happen, how things are going to get started. The gift is innovation, and the CD is innocence. And so in the shadow side with this chaos, if you're a little repressive and fearful, it's going to be more of an kind of an anal ordering, kind of being very conscientious about how things get ordered. And in the reactive side, which is a little more angry, it's going to be disordered, right? So there's not going to be a lot of order there. It's going to be more disordered. What Richard says in the graphic is life breathes change into its lungs and exhales innovation. And I love that, because it's almost like, we can't, change is inevitable, right? And we're always going to have change. And whether we're starting something brand new, or it's a new version of something that we're doing that we've always done, or it's or something that's just a tweak of something, things are always changing. And so if we take the change into our lungs and then exhale innovation, it's a lovely way to think about it, because we have the ability, we have the capability to figure things out. That's why we have our brains. That's why we have our experiences and our skill sets. And it's what allows us to really exhale that innovation in a really profound way. He also says, no matter who or what we are, we're subject to constant change. So as I was just saying, it's always going to change. And in order to evolve, a human being must embrace chaos rather than try to protect against it. Because there's going to be chaos, just as there's going to be change, there's going to be chaos. There's going to be a few things that don't work at the beginning of everything. And I love to tell the stories of my husband, who's a project manager, was a project manager for a long time. There was always something at the beginning that started, whether it was the IDs didn't work, or the computer program was a little off, or the IT guys didn't show up at the right time. There's always something that happens at the beginning of a project, no matter what we're doing. And so those things are just think of them as little obstacles, little bumps in the road that we have to get by, and then recommit to what we're doing, so that we can do it in a way that's really experiential, that's figuring things out as we go, and that's allowing us to evolve, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to evolve. He also says, in the old view, we humans are the victims of our selfish genes. In the new view, or as we're moving into this evolutionary period, let's call it, as we're ascending and changing and raising our frequencies. So in the new view, there are no victims, only a huge interconnected and interdependent cosmos, which is kind of a cool way to think about it, right? That we are all connected. And I like to say we're all connected. It doesn't mean you have to love everybody. It means you love everybody, but it doesn't mean you have to love every single person. It's kind of impossible to do that, right? It's unless you're a saint. And I am not a saint. And so I don't love everybody, but I love everybody, right? It's this interconnectedness that allows us to see things from a, kind of higher, broader perspective, and be open to everything that we're experiencing, but not necessarily having the greatest relationships with everybody that we meet. We try. You do the best you can, but not everybody is a saint either. So, and we're not going to want to be with everybody. It doesn't mean this kind of kumbaya thing necessarily. It's the broader, bigger picture interconnectedness. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get along with everybody. So I just want to put that out there once in a while, because people think, oh, everything's so positive and everything's so good. No, it's not. Life is life. Things happen. And so it doesn't mean you love every single person. It just means that you embrace everyone, that we are interconnected, and that life is here to be lived and enjoyed and embraced. So we have a bunch of different people this week. As I was looking at them, I'm thinking that they're usually kind of warm-ish people, people who are warm generally. So they're going to have a little trouble at the beginning of their lives, of their projects, of their careers, of their, whatever projects they're up to, events they're up to. But they're basically going to be warm and caring people, generally. So it's about 6 months since Queen Elizabeth died. So I thought it might be interesting to kind of revisit her chart. We did do it last year at around this time, but it's her birthday, April 21st, 1926 was when she was born. She died last September 8th, as you may recall, 2022. And she's a projector with the 5-1 profile, left angle cross of wishes. It was just interesting. Let's mention a few things that we didn't mention last time because it's been 6 months since she passed. First of all, she's got that completely open G center. And she was born in London and loved being up at Balmoral, and that's where she passed. With that completely open G center, it was really important for her to be where she felt comfortable, where the energy felt good for her. And it always felt good at Balmoral. She loved being up there. It's up in Scotland. It was called the Summer Castle. But she loved being up there, and she loved spending time and walking and, being with her dogs and just walking around. She used to meet people on the paths. These stories have come out now about her meeting people on the paths, like tourists, and she would be with her, person, her guard, and she would let him do the talking because a lot of people didn't recognize her, and they would ask if some people would even ask if she had ever seen the Queen or if he had ever seen the Queen, and she would kind of string them along and not divulge who she was. So she always had kind of a sparkle in her eye that way. She liked teasing people. And now she died at the age of 96, which is, for a projector, that's a really long run. And there's no, just because I think projectors sometimes think that they're perhaps not as healthy, not as robust, not as, energetic as some generators or manifesting generators might be. Well, this is a woman who lived 96 years and was busy through that entire 96 years. She was not a woman who sat around. And she was emotional. She did have the root center defined, that had ajna and throat defined, which gave her the capability to speak. When she spoke, she was heard. And she had a 70-year reign. I just thought it was interesting as I was, doing some research about the period since she passed, that the code for right after she passed, King Charles III, her son, became king immediately, of course. But the code to get back to London was London Bridge is down. Kind of an MI6, kind of code words that they used. She was known for her empathy, compassion, and support of others. That's what they tried to show and highlight after she passed at the funeral, at some Christmas things that went on. Kate mentioned it a few times. Princess Kate mentioned it a few times in her talks and speeches. Charles III also mentioned it in his speeches. And so just looking at that, I just thought it'd be interesting to look at it because the compassion is there, coming from the emotional solar plexus. The empathy also, could be there. But I'll say that the 50, gate 50, which is that one over here, is all about caring, right? It's all about caring. And it's about really, it's almost a fear of overwhelmment in terms of how much you care. And that's the fear that goes along with it. And her support for others. Well, I would say it shows up in a few places in the chart, with the 26 integrity, with the 54 ambition. She was ambitious, but she also had this 49, which she had twice in both her Mars and Jupiter. That's all about principles. It's basically about holding to principles, caring about your principles, wanting other people to follow the principles. And then she had this, the 39 is probably her little twinkle in the eye and teasing people. It's all about provocation. And she had that both conscious and unconscious. And then she had the 41 to 30 channel, and that 30, the 41 is about basically fantasy and desire. But the 41 is all about creativity, that fantasy idea, the visions of the future is where this starts. And the 30 is all about intensity and desire. And she had huge desire to do what she was doing, to bring the country forward, to, bring it into the modern age, basically, through a number of the things she did. She also had the gate 36, which is interesting, right, as a monarch to have this, which is all about, and it's in her, let's see, Uranus. So she was somebody who could deal with the emergencies, with the crises, with the drama that went on, and still to her principles. So as you probably know, May 6th will be the coronation for Prince Charles III. That'll probably be another TV event. I think what we can say with, her defined head and ajna and throat, from all that influence and attention to details and logic in her, right up in her, from the head to the ajna, that Charles learned from a very wise Jecta woman how to be king. And of course, it's up to him to prove that he can be that king. But she was a wonderful role model for him and took that very seriously. Happy birthday, Queen Elizabeth. And for this week, I hope you'll pay attention to the feelings that you might have, especially emotional feelings or throat energy or sacral energy. If you're not used to that, do be aware and watchful, and get a nap if you need to, if it's too much energy for you. Enjoy the eclipse and the beginning of Mercury retrograde. A good time to back things up if you haven't already, and also a good time to cross your T's and dot your I's if it's going into contracts or calendars or travel or things like that. So give yourself a little extra time this week when Mercury goes retrograde, and I'll see you next time. Be well.